San Francisco 49ers at the Green Bay Packers. As we sit right now, mostly 5.5s in favor of the Packers out there. There is 1-6 that has popped back up. That will likely become 5.5. Because what we have seen, guys, is this sits at 5.5. It hits 6, people come in and scoop up the 6, and it goes back down to 5.5. And it hits 6, and people scoop it up, and it goes back down to 5.5. So it has pretty much lived at 5.5, except for those brief moments that it pops back up to 6. A total of 47.5 in this game. Steven, you are on the 49ers. I think what we know here, the huge question is Nick Bosa going to get cleared by the independent neurologist to get back out there? Because again, this is not an injury situation for him. It can't just be like, yeah, I feel good enough to go. This is a concussion situation. So he does have to get cleared by a doctor in order for him to go out there. Now, all signs point to him being able to play on Saturday, but it is 1 day shorter. It is a Saturday game instead of a Sunday. And the only other thing for me is that we've seen these guys at like a couple of different times this year look really, really, really on track to play, and then for whatever reason not get out there. So that's at least minimally concerning if you are a 49ers backer in this game. On the injury front for the Packers side of things, they do get back Randall Cobb, who's coming back from core muscle surgery. By the way, these guys are superhuman these days. It's just unbelievable. He's core muscle surgery like 6 weeks ago, and he's back already. And then that said, though, doubtful for this game is Marcus Valdez-Scantling for them. So get one receiver back, lose another receiver in this game. Steven, floor is to you, sir. 49ers.
Well, Brett Colson stepped in for me last week and talked about how he thought they were the second best team in the NFC. You and Brett had yourselves a little back and forth argument about who's going to cover this game in Slack this week. So with Brett not on the show, I thought I had to represent the 49ers side here. If you're watching on YouTube, or if you're not watching on YouTube, I got the Colin Kaepernick jersey on to remind Matt of how often the 49ers have just dominated the Packers in the postseason over the years, from Terrell Owens in the catch two to Colin Kaepernick running ragged all over the field, to Jimmy Garoppolo only throwing 8 passes in the NFC Championship to dominate the Packers. So about this game, Matt, +6 was too many points for me. And I thought that line moved not necessarily because of sharp money, but because of injury speculation in the middle of the week. And now it's looking better. I am gambling a little bit that Bosa's going to clear the protocol, but he was a full participant in the last official practice of the week this week. Fred Warner, back-to-back full participants. Jimmy Garoppolo, back-to-back full participant in practice. So I don't see why this line should ever be 6 if those injury concerns are taken care of. So I have this line more closer to the 4 that it opened at. The game plan for me is obvious, right? I think we all kind of see it for the 49ers. A big advantage in the running game. The run efficiency, hopefully shorten the game, tire the defense out, keep Aaron Rodgers sidelined, increase the variance in a 1-game sample size. They couldn't quite do it in the first meeting, but they also had to have Trey Sermon as their lead back in that game, not Eli Mitchell and Deebo Samuel, and they only ran for 3 yards per carry. So totally different situation this time around. They were also -2 in the turnover margin, and despite that, they still only lost that game by 2 points earlier this year. So
To back you up here, Steven, since week 10, the Niners have gone for 130 or more yards on the ground in 8 of their 10 games. So they are getting they are not just getting production
elite
on the ground. They're getting a lot of production on the ground. So 8 out of 10 games, they've gone for at least 130 or more. The 5th overall in the season, the 5th ranked rush offense DVOA, the 8th ranked EPA rush offense overall. And then if you look at the Packers rush defense, that again piles on to kind of your point here, 28th rush defense DVOA, the Packers over the course of the season, 20th EPA per play, and they allowed 5.6 yards per rush over their last 3 games to end and close out the season. So there is certainly a mismatch there when it comes to the rush offense versus the rush defense.
On top of that, though, Matt, what I love most is what Brett said on the pod last week. The dirty little secret about this 49ers offense is that they are not one-dimensional. They, again, from week 8 on, after that monsoon game that they had against the Colts, in that stretch, second in drop back EPA, seventh in drop back success rate. So you are rolling the dice every time you want to bet on Jimmy Garoppolo, because he has those moments like he did at the end of the game last week where he throws a bonehead pass. Maybe the thumb affected that a little bit. We've seen practice videos since he came back from the thumb situation where he's sailing balls. So you're gambling a little bit on that regard, but statistically, I can't get to 6 points in this game. So I'm taking the Niners to cover it.
I took 4.5 on the Packers, but I do think 6 is too much.
Okay.
And so I think I can have both. I think I can hold both opinions, right? Like I took the 4.5, but I do think that 6 is too much in this one. I think one of the underrated things here, Brad, is actually just how efficient the Packers are in all aspects of their offensive game. Of course, we understand that Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams pass connections just absolutely absurd and unreal. But the run offense for the Packers is kind of under the radar good, right? They're the 5th in the NFL in EPA per play versus 7 in the box. And they actually get 7 in the box so often because you just can't go one-on-one with Devontae Adams because it spells so much trouble. So like when they get 7 in the box, they're averaging 4.72 yards per carry on the season, and they see so few stacked boxes because of that Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams thing that's the look that they get the majority of the time. And so we understand that the path of least resistance here is to pass the ball against the 49ers. We understand that their intermittent to deep passing defense is one of the worst in the NFL. Devontae Adams is 4th overall in the NFL with 883 yards on passes of 10 or more yards down the field, in air yards down the field. That is going to happen again in this thing. That is going to be a focus point for this Packers offense. If you look, San Francisco, they allowed a 54% completion percentage, 12 yards per attempt, a 111.4 passer rating, and plus 8.6 CPOE on those 10 or more air yard passes down the field. Yes, those are all bottom 5 in the league, by the way. That is going to be a part of this game, but I think people are underestimating how successful that this Packers team can be on the ground as well, because people have to respect what Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams are able to do.
But I think if you're the 49ers, you want them to run the ball.
100%.
Right? You'd much rather Aaron Jones, because you've also got 49ers the best rush defense in the NFL over the second half of the season, number 1 from weeks 10 to 17 in DVOA. And I do think they can probably stop the run with the light box. You know, you're going to have Nick Bosa versus Billy Turner on the right side. You've got Eric Armstead on the interior. I don't think the Packers are just blowing them off the ball for 4.7 yards a carry, as you were just talking about there. Now, I think the Valdez-Scantling loss is big as well, because, you know, the 49ers, they want to sit in their cover 3 zones and they don't really want to man up. But if they don't have to respect a deep threat, I mean, I assume they're going to send Lazard deep, but he's not the same deep threat that MVS is. Rodgers' yards per attempt, it drops off by about a yard per attempt with MVS off the field this season. So if they can't run the ball, suddenly everything is compressed as well, because they're not respecting the deep threat. I'm starting to think that maybe the Green Bay aren't just going up and down the field, as it seems like people are just suggesting the entire time. Now, on the other side of the ball, the game I cannot get out of my head is this Cleveland Browns Green Bay Packers game.
Yeah, me too.
It was a Saturday night, I think, or so, where Nick Chubb, they went for about 220 yards, 8 yards a carry, and they just Baker was playing with his banged up shoulder, throwing an interception every 6 attempts, but they just could not stop the run. And I think the 49ers are just a better version of the Browns, but they've also got this banged up quarterback. So, like, I really want to back 49ers plus 6, but I'm slightly terrified that Jimmy G. Now, obviously, the thumb is bad enough, minus whatever it's going to be, 0 degrees, 4 degrees, something stupid. He hasn't played an NFL game in that temperature. You know, he's talking in the week, he's used to that temperature from his college days. But, you know, that he is a San Francisco guy at the minute. So is he going to be comfortable with the banged up shoulder, the banged up thumb in that temperature? And can the 49ers win the game just running the ball? At -2 in turnovers as well, because Rodgers isn't going to turn it over. It starts to get quite dicey. So I would definitely lean 49ers plus 6, but there is definitely games where Garoppolo throws 3 INTs and they lose by 15.
Matt, there is such
Yeah. The of note though, just with the run defense stuff and everything. And again, I understand that you can't just assume instant elite production or anything like that. But Zadarius Smith back for the Packers in this game. Whitney Merciless back for the Packers in this game. Jair Alexander, which should help out on the outside in covering, which would allow them to play a little bit more aggressive against the run as well. All going to be back on the defensive side of the ball for the Packers. Now, there's likely to be some sort of snap counts on these guys. They're not going to be in there every single down for this team, but that is 3 big reinforcements for the Packers defense getting back in there for them.
Matt, would it shock anybody if the Niners won by a couple possessions here, if the Packers won by a couple possessions, if it was a close like this, despite this game being the biggest spread of the weekend, I think this has such a wide range of outcomes. And to echo Brad's point, I think it revolves entirely around Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, would it surprise anybody if, just like that Browns game against the Packers, the Niners rush for 200 yards and Jimmy G throws 4 picks like Baker Mayfield and they lose the game? So everything revolves around that thumb in this game. And if they can do enough running the ball so that Jimmy doesn't have to throw a lot, and if he does have to throw, is he going to be sailing passes for picks? So that's a really hard thing to handicap. And like Brad, I am terrified because that is in the range of outcomes, but I also can't lay 6 with the Packers.
If you're a 49ers backer, you better hope James shows up and not Jimmy. That's all I'm saying. Like you better hope James shows up and not Jimmy in this thing. One interesting fact that I did see over the course of the season. Now, look, Aaron Rodgers doesn't get pressured, like he doesn't feel pressure, and getting Bakhtiari back this week as well should only help in that situation. Like when he's not pressured though, obviously he's lights out, right? He's over 75% completion percentage, a 122.6 passer rating. But on those rare occasions where he is pressured and does feel pressure, his completion percentage drops in half, 36.1% completion percentage for Aaron Rodgers when he is pressured. So that is something to think about. If Bosa can win and win often in this thing, would be that Aaron Rodgers, while he doesn't get pressured very often, when he does, he literally falls off a cliff when it comes to completion percentage. So that is one other thing. And guys, just a prop real quick before we move on that I just want to get y'all's thoughts on. This hasn't gotten in my account yet, but hey, we're talking through things here and want to see what you think here for the listeners and the viewers. So 40.5 yards for A.J. Dillon as a rush prop in this game. I am under the assumption that the Packers are going to go with Aaron Jones in this game. They're going to go with the dude that they trust, the dude that Aaron Rodgers trusts, the guy that they have basically limited his workload all year long to make sure that he was healthy for the playoffs. And then even further the point, like we just said, the path of least resistance here against the 49ers is throwing the ball, not running the ball. So just curious on y'all's thoughts, like 40.5 yards for A.J. Dillon, given those kind of circumstances here.
I don't like it.
Would you?
Because like Brad said, number 1 rush defense and DVOA, but they're also number 1 in rush D, EPA, and success rate since week 8 on. So they are legitimately the best run defense in the league over the second half of the season. And the games that A.J. Dillon has gone over that number, I'm looking now, we're pretty much against bottom half of the league rush defenses. Yeah. So I'm not big on that one myself.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, I'm talking about the under.
Oh, you like the
one.
under? Like, okay, yeah. In that case, yeah.
I'm saying that, like, wouldn't they go with Aaron Jones? Wouldn't and then
and even if they do, I'm not sure he's going to have success. So yeah, I do like the under in that case.
Brad, thoughts?
Yes, I suppose I would say, is he the cold weather back? Because True. Aaron Jones is about 180 pounds when dripping wet, and obviously AJ Dillon is like man Hulk. So, is he who they turn to as kind of a hammer if they do get a lead? I'm not sure. One on the other side, I did bet Eli Mitchell and Debo both over their rushing yards. Basically, if Eli Mitchell was healthy, they give him 28 carries. And I'm thinking, even if they get down 14 points here, the Shani script goes awry, the LaFleur script is great, and they get down early, they're not giving this game to Jimmy G. They're still going to hammer away, I think, because they can't, even against the Cowboys in its second 11, they still run the ball because they can pick up chunk plays because they are so explosive. And Debo, he got 10 carries, he got 3 targets last week. So I think he's actually got quite a high drop rate this season. So again, I think that's how he's going to be used as well. There's no preserving these guys. It's hammer Eli Mitchell and Debo Samuel. I think that's got to be the game plan here. So I think you can bet them both over.
What number did you get Debo at, out of curiosity?
I got 39.5.
Okay. So yeah, you still like it, even though we're seeing inflated numbers at this point, and I don't disagree with you because the usage backs it up.